So you know that now infamous line, the best camera is the one you have with you? Well, most times they're referring to your phone. And rightly so, because the cameras on our phones have gotten really, really good. There's just this certain freedom when you can go out and just capture photos and video with your phone and not have to worry about the big camera, the lenses, the memory cards, batteries, the gimbals. But you see, the biggest hurdle for me with the footage coming from my phone is to achieve that consistent and special filmic look like I can with my Sony camera. For a long time now, there have been great photo editing apps for the iPhone, but nothing really amazing when it comes to video for color grading. But the team at Dehancer have recently released an iOS app that is based off of their renowned desktop plugin. And I've already talked about how much I love Dehancer Film in a video I made last year. But I think this app is actually going to be better for most people because it allows you to edit photos and video. Now, this isn't a sponsored video, but the team at Dehancer did supply me with a 1-year subscription so that I can put the app through its paces. So right now we'll just shoot a quick test sequence on the phone, edit on the Dehancer app, and then we can post it on the fly. Now that we have our sequence, we'll just open up the Dehancer app. You just select what you want to use, and you can go through and use one of their presets if you want to. But you can also just quickly do it on the fly really fast. So hit the original, go into edit, tap films, and for this one, maybe I'll use the Cinestill 800. And you can do push and pull to further do your adjustments. So maybe we'll go with this one here. The first thing you want to do right away is set sort of your black points and your white point. This is pretty much like your levels. And then we can go into source to do any adjustments if we feel we need to. So sort of the quick adjustments to the photo. So maybe I'll just pop the exposure a little bit. The compression is sort of like dehazing a little bit in some of the other photo editing apps, but you can do that there. You can even check your footage. If you don't like it, just double tap and it'll bring it back. Print, this is the different types of paper, but for this, I want it to look like a movie, so maybe we'll use the Kodak 2383, gives it a nice look. But see, right away it changes the look of your image. And then the beautiful thing is now we can add in to the shadows maybe a little more blue, a little more gold, or yellow or orange into the midtones, and then adjust our highlights to be a little bit more blue so that it's a little more white. Add in the film grain. You can see as you tap these, they turn on and off. So we'll put the film grain there. Bring up the resolution again so that we're not losing any of that to the film grain. Slide this down, slide this over, add in a bit of halation. You can add in a bit of bloom if you want. And there you go. Before, after. Now it does stutter during the playback a little bit, but once you export it, you can pick your resolution. I'll go into full res. It'll take a little time to export out, maybe about a minute or so for this 10-second clip, but then it's ready to go, and then I'll do the before and afters on the screen now. So if you're not familiar with Dehancer, it is a tool that allows you to achieve not just a look, but a feeling for your photos and your videos, because they're not presets and they're not LUTs, but the team has recreated 60 plus famous and unique film emulations using research, science, and a lot of other in-depth technical stuff that, to be honest, I sometimes don't understand. But you can find a lot of the information on their website. But let's get into the app. Dehancer is compatible with most new iPhones and iPads. And right now, I'll just, again, do a live edit so that we can talk a little bit more about what each thing does. Because last time I was just flying through it when I was on the street there. Okay, so when you first open up the app, you'll get this interface and it'll send you right into this presets tab. And as I mentioned before, you can see all the different presets from featured users and the Dehancer team. And you can quickly toggle all the different things. You can go to your own presets. But let's go and do an edit right from scratch. So in order to do that, you can pick the last edits here, or you can just hit original. And this is an original shot that I just brought in. And this clip that I shot in Berlin is actually shot in the ProRes mode in iPhone, so of the highest quality. So we'll have a lot of room to play with this. So once you do that, you can hit edit. And the first thing you want to do is in the source. Right in the source tab, you can fix anything quickly like the tint or the color. And if you don't like it, you can just double tap and it'll go back. So maybe we'll lower the exposure a bit. And I think everything else looks good. So right after that, they suggest you go to expand. Now this expand tab basically lets you control the levels and how far away the black points and the white points live. So we can make it a little less contrasty, but I'm going to add a little bit of black because this is a backlit situation. So you want the shadows, and then I will push up the whites a little bit so we get a nice bright image here. Now you can also check by tapping this and it'll show you histograms. So anywhere where it's blue, it's too dark. So we'll add in right there. And then anywhere that is too blown with no more information, too white, will be in the red. So you can see we can save some of that actually in the expand tab if we want to, but I'll go right before it shows, right about there. Okay, so the next thing, films. As you can see, when I tap the tabs, the little blue dot shows when it's going on and off. You can pick the different films here. So color negative, motion picture, color positive. Let's do the Kodak Vision 250 daylight, just to give it a different look. In the film tab, you can do push and pull, which basically gives you not just the 60 film emulations, but this allows you to even adjust them further. So you're getting a ton of options there. So let's pull. Push and pull was a way for original analog film developers to get creative by putting in the solution for longer or pulling it out quicker, and it plays with exposure a little bit. So let's do this here. Developer gives you a little bit more options to fix contrast and the gamma, but it also allows you to boost the color back a little bit, as you can see here. Then we'll quickly go into compression. Compression, from what I understand, is being able to smooth out the highlights a little bit. So I called it like a dehazing thing. You can bring back a lot of the details in the sky there. Print, it will let you decide what type of sort of paper, that it's sort of emulating that. But this here is the Kodak Endura Glossy. But since this is the film emulation, let's go with, again, the Kodak 2383, because I think that gives it a much more filmic look. And when you're tapping, again, you can see that. On color head, we can add in more yellow since it's sort of that golden hour. Let's add in a bit of maybe some cyan if we want, or let's go a little more into the red here. We can make it look a little more green on this area here, and then a little deeper in the yellow. Now, gang allows you just to adjust all three like that really quickly. So actually we can even do something like this, which is really neat, gives you that really nice look. And then underneath here, this little section here, to me, is kind of like split toning. So in split toning, I'll probably add in a little bit of blue into the shadows a little bit. The midtones, I'll make much more golden. We'll pop that up. And then highlights will slide into the blue to try to keep that, or you can go this way if you want, but let's go like right here. Go into film grain. Film grain is where you're gonna get that really analog and creative look. So in the film grain, we'll do the amount here. So we'll go here, and then you wanna go, the resolution will keep your image sharp if you need to at 100, or it will sort of blend into the grain a bit more around 50. And maybe for a motion picture, we want to be around 75. And you really want to zoom in, and you can do that. You can zoom in to see how much it's affecting, because you don't want to judge it from this far back because you can't really tell. But when you zoom in like this is when you can really see how much grain or not. So maybe we'll go back to 15. Now, as I'm doing this, you can see that you can get quite precise with it. Having said that, one of the critiques that I have is I wish I could just tap the numbers and then a keyboard would come up so that we could just punch in the number if we know a number that we like right away. Because some of us like to be on round numbers rather than this 18.49. I would rather just be at 18. And to quickly do that on a slider is more annoying than just to be able to tap the numbers and then type in 18. Now, grain in full dark shadows won't show, and in full bright it won't show. So we want to check the sun. This sun right now, as you can see, is basically almost blown out. So we don't want a lot of noise there. So I will lower this highlight slider almost all the way down, bring down the midtones a bit, and we will double check the shadows by this tree, because I can see that in the shadows there's no information, so there shouldn't be any noise there either. So we'll lower that a bit. So now that shadow looks a little bit more real, as if it's actually happening. Halation is really interesting. In a backlit scene where there's a lot of different edges in light, in film, you'll get a lot of halation. So in a scene like this, typically on analog film, you will get halation. So you add that back in and it will have a little bit of the red. And now you can see as I zoom into these molecule men, that's what these little men are called, and you tap it on and off, you can see that halation. And I think just that natural setting on the halation looks good. And then bloom. Bloom is like a mist filter effect. So in this one, let me see if it looks good or not. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of bloom on the water looks pretty cool. So check the vignetting. Add a little bit of vignetting for just some cinematic vibes. Again, these are all sort of creative choices that you can make. In the photo section of this, the two options that you don't get is film breathe and gate weave. But what it essentially is, in film breathe, when you're developing a long strip of film in analog film, the consistency would sometimes be off. Some parts would be a little bit more exposed, or a little bit more saturated, or a little bit brighter, a little bit darker, because it's this long film going through the solution. So this essentially emulates that. And gate weave is when the film is going through the projector gate, and it'll sort of give it a little bit of that jittery shake if it's sort of getting pulled a bit. If the film isn't going through straight but it's starting to bunch, it'll start to flicker a little bit. So, you know, when you watch those old school Charlie Chaplin movies and there's a bit of that shake or a little bit of the flicker, well, you can give your video a lot of those elements to make it really feel like someone is watching an analog movie if you want to. If you love this look, what you can do is jump back into the preset tab, hit the save button, and you can save it as a preset. So you can always have it and you can rename it. So maybe I'll call this Kodak Vision 250D Berlin for now, because you can always delete them if you want to. When you go in and you go to export it and you hit export, you can do full res. This right here is a 17-second clip. It is in ProRes and it'll take about 2 minutes to do. So my final thoughts. I think as photographers and filmmakers and creators, the one thing that we want for our content is for it to convey a feeling. Happy, sad, nostalgic, whatever it may be. And it does that. This tool allows your social media content to stand out, whether it's your reels, stories, shorts, TikToks. It gives it that special and unique look. I think the biggest pain point for some people might be the price. The app is available as a yearly subscription or a monthly payment. But as someone who sees the popularity of shooting analog and film, and with the skyrocketing prices of film, I think that this tool is the perfect gap to bridge the two. Now, while I believe that it is an investment, I think that investing in your craft is worth it. The freedom to shoot with my phone and to get the unique results instantly on the go is a huge upside for me. So if you're curious about the app at all, I would highly recommend that you go to the App Store and download it. because it's a free download and you can play around with it and you get up to 10 exports. And then after that, you'll have to decide whether you want to go with the yearly subscription or the monthly, and that'll give you unlimited exports. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments because this app is full of stuff and I don't know if I could have conveyed everything that I needed to in this video. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, it would be amazing if you considered subscribing, like, share, and we will see you in the next one. So have fun creating, and as always, live passionately and stay inspired. Bye.
This bird is crazy, hey?
Cars, oh my cars. Man, loud ass city.